Hello, and welcome to the Unlock Your Life Purpose Summit. I am your host, Lorna Moon, and today we are blessed with the presence of Jodie Randisi. Jodie is an author, speaker, and educator. She's done some amazing things in the world, and she also happens to be the one speaker on this whole summit who lives the closest to me in South Carolina, and I'm in North. So let's welcome Jodie.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Jodie.
Thanks for having me, Lorna.
So great to have you here. When I learned all about you and your story, I was just so inspired. And so I just knew that I had to have you on the summit. So I'm grateful that you decided to join.
Happy to be here. It's a great platform. You're doing a great service to a big audience. So thank you for this.
Thank you. So why don't you tell us how you came to be living your purpose?
Well, that's a big question, which I can answer in 30 minutes. Sure. But
absolutely.
It started when I was 15 years old. I discovered I'm very comfortable living and working with marginalized populations. I was a country club kid living in the suburbia of Basking Ridge, New Jersey. And I got my first job as a day camp counselor at Bonnie Bray. Well, it was a busload of girls and boys coming from inner city Newark, New Jersey, which was a total foreign culture to me. And what I discovered was, this is cool. I fit right in. And I must have done it well, because every 2 weeks you're supposed to get a new bunch of campers. Every 2 weeks I got the same girls, but came back. I was doing something right. So that led me to figuring out that I wanted to be familiar with what it feels like to be in the minority.
Mm-hmm.
I was blessed with my upbringing, although I did rebel. My parents were golfers, so I went to tennis, so I'm not all that compliant. But I went on to teach on a Navajo reservation in a boarding school, because I wanted to be familiar with that feeling. Everybody else around me is different, and I'm the odd one out. And I thrive in that environment, apparently, because now I work with convicted male felons in a medium security prison here in South Carolina. So I've done the gamut, and I really enjoy cultivating potential in people who are marginalized.
Wow.
That's what I do.
So you started with campers when you were 15. And so you were like a camp counselor? Or how?
In charge of archery for some reason. I had never done that, but you do what you have to.
Mm-hmm.
But really what I found my purpose is helping people. If I'm not helping people, I'm not really happy. So I'm involved in that prison ministry mostly, and that's probably what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to tell you some great stories about how cultivating people when they're in timeout. By the way, rehabilitation requires education. So I raised my hand at Ridgeland Correctional and said, I'd like to encourage more volunteers to come in and find this eager audience ready for you to present whatever you are passionate about. I happen to be passionate about, I'm going to tell you about my book club. I do coloring therapy for the soul, for mindfulness training.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of a varied experience that I have, but my entrance into prison volunteering was with Toastmasters International.
Really? The speaking group. The group they tell everybody if you're terrified of public speaking to join, Toastmasters, that one.
Yes, that one. So I got the opportunity to mentor this group, and I became a member because of other reasons. But so I go to a weekly meeting behind bars. So what I did to be able to be a purpose-driven person is I had to find a day job that would coincide with that. So that might be an important point. I became a realtor here on Hilton Head, because why not? It's a beautiful place. I've lived here 25 years. But the fact was that I had to tell my broker, hey, on Wednesdays I'm in prison. So I had to enable my work schedule to be flexible. I had to make that happen. So I chose a career that I love and I can do as a day job, but my purpose-driven life is all spent behind bars.
Wow.
I know. Listen, I didn't wake up one day and go, you know what? I want to be a prison volunteer. I want to go hang out with murderers and rapists. And I'm telling you, those are the people that are behind bars that I work with. It's a medium security prison. But I want to tell you, the people that are there, they're in time out from society, which they should be. And when you send your kid to timeout, you're expecting them to come out refocused, right?
That's true. Absolutely.
You put them in the corner and you think, well, when they come out, they're going to know what they did wrong. I have found in a Toastmasters group, by the way, in prison, that the legacies that they come in with, broken families, abuse, addiction, poverty, bullying, whatever it is that brought them to the place where they became criminally minded, has to be rewritten. And if you're in timeout behind bars, the only way you're going to rehabilitate yourself and come out a better citizen is through education. I am strongly passionate about, well, let me tell you what my mission statement says. I'll read it so I don't mess up. My mission statement is to cultivate potential, hidden potential in marginalized populations by providing inmates with learning opportunities that lead to remarkable transformation and renewed proficiencies.
Wow.
That's a huge statement because I've discovered there's a lot of talent behind bars. In fact, Lorna, you know what? I think I'm going to become a speakers bureau for ex-cons.
Wow. That's awesome.
Heard, the way that they have risen from stumbling and ahs and ums and not being clear about what they're saying to a level where I actually end up writing a little evaluation going, when you get out, I'd like to be your agent. They're that good. And
wow.
if you think about it, I don't have the same message that they have. They have a message where they want to get back into their communities and influence the younger people. So as a Toastmaster mentor, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to be able to give them hope that there is a future, that their voice could become their business or whatever. There's lots of things I do to help people find their potential.
Wow. That's amazing.
I'd like to tell you about my immediate reaction when I tell people I'm a prison volunteer. Here's what happens. What? Why are you taking your show to prison, Jodie? Why are you working with criminals, for heaven's sakes? Like, I should take my show to the at-risk students. That is true. I probably, if I had been the life coach of these guys before they got to prison and when they were at risk, I wouldn't have met them, but that's not the case. So I see the bewilderment on people's faces, like, what are you doing? Why? And my answer is, why not? These people are the sponges that are looking for education, looking for hope, looking for something to do that was different from their childhood. They have not had the experiences that you and I have had. They didn't have the mentors. They had the broken home, the dysfunction, the alcohol addiction. It's awful out there. The world, you know, is awful. So while they're in timeout, I open up a door for them that says, hey, there's someone out there that cares.
Wow.
Me. And I'm coming in with a program like for example, my book club. I'd love to tell you about my book club. May I do that?
Of course.
What does a prison book club look like? Well, first of all, I had guys come in that had no knowledge of reading. I mean, they were there to learn how to read.
Okay, so they didn't even know how to read at all.
A little bit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But they would come to the book club just wanting, we would read out loud a book called Same Kind of Different as Me.
Mm-hmm.
Tattoos on the Heart. We would read out loud. The shy ones would not participate, but the others did. It's not like a regular book club where you talk about what snacks we're going to have. You're
in prison. There are no yummy snacks. There's no wine and snacks.
That's right. We're in a gray box with little windows with people peeking in going, what's going on in there? And it's me reading out loud along with the guys, and they're enjoying being exposed to literature. I always choose books that have an emphasis on faith, friendship, and fortitude. Of course, true stories.
Yes.
So in any case, we're not concerned about, can you read? We're concerned about, are you involved and now in a relationship? One gentleman, as we're reading Tattoos on the Heart, we read a chapter on the difference between guilt and shame.
Mm-hmm.
And a big difference. He understood that guilt says I'm guilty, I can make amends, I did something wrong, but shame says I am the mistake. And there's nothing I can do about that. Well, by reading the book, those two concepts collided, and he woke up to the fact that he can repent for his bad doings, whatever it was, and he can go on and let go of the shame. The next week he came to book club, he was a totally transformed person. His countenance was different. He got baptized. He gave up his guilt and shame all at once, became forgiven, and became a participant in my book club like you would not believe.
Wow.
Yeah, that was exciting. That was exciting.
Wow.
So
That's
anyway,
incredible.
let's see what else. I know that many people don't know that you could be a volunteer in prison, but they are, at one prison here in South Carolina, they're teaching beekeeping, art, painting, public speaking as I do. Any interest that you have, the trades or whatever, it's in South Carolina, it's all performed by volunteers.
Wow.
So we have to raise the money, I do anyway, to buy the books and to pay for the memberships for the Toastmasters that are here in South Carolina. Most of them are indigent and couldn't pay the fee to join an international club.
Yeah.
Once they do, they are on their way to a great parole meeting because they can see clearly without ahs and ums, and they know what they're going to say. They prepared. It's awesome. I've had rapport with some of the guys who have been in Toastmasters and gotten out. It's very exciting.
Wow.
So let me tell you another story. Let's see, I got my notes here because there's so many. I want to tell you a story about Mr. Jones. I saw Mr. Jones on the yard, and he came up to me, and when a volunteer, I've been there 3 years, so I'm kind of a celeb. So he runs up to me and goes, Mr. Jones, I cannot understand what you're saying. You need to come to Toastmasters, like ASAP. We did. Mr. Jones shows up. He gives his icebreaker, a 4 to 6 minute speech about, introducing yourself to the group, I guess. And that's when we find out that Mr. Jones had a very messy childhood, one that you and I can't even imagine. But yet, in 4 to 6 minutes, he delivers it in a humorous way and such a powerful, impactful way that he got a standing ovation and he won the ribbon. So next week he comes and he's an evaluator. He's going to evaluate someone else's speech and he gets the ribbon for that.
Wow.
This guy has never had applause for anything that he's done.
That's it.
And he's a little bit misshapen head. You can tell that he has had some brain damage, which in his speech he expounds on. His foster buddy or whatever did some horrible things and he ended up in a coma. And so you realize he's not all there, but he's really sharp and he's really motivated. Well, when I'm in the dorm and he's in that dorm, he comes into my classroom, he says, Mrs. Randisi, may I please sit in on your class? I say, sure, have a seat. Well, my other classmates, I've already told them that this is an intimate group. Whatever stays in the group, is ours. We don't share. So they got upset, the other people in the group, the inmates. They're like,
How'd you let this guy in here?
What? You're going back on your word. We don't do that at prison. So Mr. Jones said politely, I will leave. Afterwards, I broke down in tears in front of 12 men. Are you kidding me? Yes, I did. They saw my vulnerability because I was so hurt. I said, gentlemen, you do not know this guy's story like I do. He's been rejected his entire life, and I watched you bully him and reject him. And the tears just came pouring. I would not recommend that for everyone, but what happened was the group woke up to what bullying is and how they are doing it, and they stopped doing it because a volunteer came in and showed them tears and showed them that that's not right.
Wow.
Things like that happen, yeah.
Wow, Jodie.
Oh my goodness. So there's another gentleman who in his speech, Mr. Curtis, tells us that he has 13 children that he knows of, probably by 13 different baby mamas. We don't know.
Yeah.
And afterwards, he gave his icebreaker where we're all, when they tell their stories, let me just tell you this. Lorna, When someone tells their story and they have the full attention of the room, that is weird in prison. Prison is a loud, noisy place. And in our Toastmasters meetings, it's calm, it's professional, and you get the floor all to yourself. So when they start to tell their stories, it's a quote by Cheryl Richardson. People start to heal the moment they feel heard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm so passionate about the Toastmaster clubs in prison. What else can I tell you?
Wow. And that part's just so powerful. That shows why the healing is there. That's one of the first things I do with my clients. When I have any client, I'm like, I want you to tell me everything about your story, the whole thing.
Right.
I'm not going to interrupt you. I'm not going to tell you, oh, I've had worse or someone else has had worse. I'm just going to hear it.
Yeah.
Like you said that one thing. So I can imagine in prison, that's probably the first time that anyone's ever listened to them. Like really listened to them. Like period, in their entire life.
Imagine.
Yeah.
So I have a testimony because I do a class called Best Self, Be You Only Better.
Mm-hmm.
I have to replicate myself because it's just me. And so I've taken a Toastmaster and said, listen, sit in on my class. I want you to do everything I do. And then when I'm gone, you can do it while I'm not here. That's the whole goal.
Yeah.
So this gentleman wrote this: overall, you did an amazing job, Mrs. Randisi. You took a group of individuals and changed their whole mindset despite their environment. You've given them the gift of change. The majority of them have never been given the tools for a better life until you. Not only will they leave remembering Best Self as a class, but also as a culture, a new way to live. Thank you for all you do. You are greatly appreciated. I get those kind of notes all the time. But that's it. We're changing their mindset. And as I'm speaking to you about mindset, society in general has to change their mindset.
Oh, I would agree with you. 100%.
Is punishment, but rehabilitation requires education.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I want to recruit and train other volunteers. This is not fake news. You ready?
Mm-hmm. Yes. I'm ready. Give it to me. Bring it on.
Every single volunteer that has ever gone behind bars with me or other volunteers that are familiar with the system
Mm-hmm.
are 100% sold and become a volunteer themselves.
Wow.
It's amazing to be in front of an audience. It's much easier for me to teach a class in prison than it is in middle school.
I believe that.
So any educators out there, if you want a really good class that you don't have to worry about discipline, yeah.
Prison. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's my stick. Let me show you. One gentleman discovered his potential in my class called Coloring Therapy for the Soul. I'll show you what that looked like. But it's just
wow.
where I teach them how to, blend and use colors. Anyway, this is the work that he did. No, that's my work. This is the gentleman I call tape artist. Those are little bitty pieces of tape.
What?
That he colored and made into, he colored with tape, tore it with his little hands because he can't have an Olfa knife like I can.
Uh-huh.
Then I discovered that this gentleman is not only a talented artist with his fingers and his attention to detail, he's a poet. Here's his poem. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Get a tissue. It's going to break your heart. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
He writes, I'm a broken treasure. Can you take me back together? Can you see my lines? They're precious and divine. Ah! So
oh my God.
Yeah, he should have a book of poetry when he gets out.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Wow.
He would never have known that had not a volunteer come in and said, hey, you want to color? Or come to book club, or join a public speaking group, or learn beekeeping or pet grooming or whatever it is, that a volunteer will come in and say, I believe in you. I think you have potential. Without hope, people are hopeless, and it's a dreary place to be when you're away from your family, the news of the world goes on without them. When they have a loved one that dies, they're not able to participate.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to rectify that with some hope. And that's what volunteers in prison do. So what I realize is that everybody who comes to prison, and tell me if I'm going on too long, but they
No.
come in with a lot of broken hearts. So there's a poem I call The Heart of a Child, and
Mm-hmm.
it speaks volumes. And may I read it to you?
Yes.
It's whatever you write on the heart of a child, no water can wash away. The sands may be shifted when billows are wild. The efforts of time may decay. Some stories may perish, some songs forgot. But this engraven record time changes it not. Whatever you write on the heart of a child, a song, a story of gladness or of care that earth has defiled or heaven has blessed, it will linger unchangeable there. So I find that all these people are literally that I'm working with are broken children. They have broken hearts from whatever, and their behavior erupted in criminal activity in most cases. So that's my story. That's my shtick. That's what I do.
Well, you have definitely found your purpose, and you can just tell by your enthusiasm and the way you speak about it. And I'm blown away. I have a couple of cousins. One of my cousins is actually out. He spent the bulk of his life in prison as from a young person, and he had, his mother died when he was young and just was not in a good place. And he's actually out, and he has his own business and is a pastor, but his brother is still in lockup somewhere. I may think in Texas, I'm not sure, but it's, it was very touching in what you talk about. And these people who are marginalized, they end up in a bad situation, and you said they act out, they go go this other way, and they end up without people like you,
Well,
to show the way. They end
I
up
want to share with you another entry
forever.
point. Yeah. The entry point for knowing your passion, for example, it could be as simple as writing a letter, becoming a pen pal to someone. Those words are, they're very valuable to someone. So it's not that you have to become a prison volunteer. Maybe you could be a prison pen pal to somebody. But here's how it happened for me. When my son was 8 years old, his teacher put something on the board. It was a half a sentence. Somewhere out there is. And then she asked the children to fill in the blank. And my son answered, someone calling my name. So that's my philosophy. He didn't know how profound he was being.
Wow.
That's my philosophy. I hear people calling my name. I'm the only me there is with the gifts and talents that God has given me. So I answer the call when I know someone is calling my name. And that's what I encourage your audience to do is listen. Is there someone out there calling your name?
Wow. Someone out there calling your name. That's so powerful, Jody. Wow.
He drew a picture of a little puppy dog. So we know Ben Randisi was looking for a dog.
He was looking for a dog, but he didn't realize.
I put it on a sweatshirt.
Oh my God, that is so cute. And that's going to make me cry because I have two little dogs that were rescues and homeless. And
Yeah, that little bit of profundity. So yeah, that became
wow.
my philosophy.
Wow, that's so powerful. That is just so powerful.
I agree.
Mm. So I think you had a gift for the audience, something to share.
Oh yes, as I said, I was teaching a couple classes, and the most effective way to get to a person's heart is to hear from people like themselves or in a video that is professionally produced rather than me. And so I show these videos in my class called Why Try? And Best Self, Be You, Only Better. And so the gift that I have for everybody is a curated list of the top 20 motivational videos that I've shared. Most of them are between 5 and 10 minutes. So I think that would be of value to many people who are listening.
Oh, definitely. And there'll be a big fat button below this recording here, so you can click on that and it'll take you directly to that. Jodie, thank you so much for your inspiration and your sharing. And I'm all emotional, and you should have had a box of Kleenex for your interview right next to me. We'll have to get that afterwards. Thank
Oh,
you so much for sharing
contact me if
today.
you want to learn how to be a prison volunteer. I got that nailed down. Thank
Yes.
you, Lorna. Thank you so much.
Thank you.